Welcome back to our Steven. My best advisors have informed me to rub some bacon on it. And today, from someone snapping at an influencer sister-in-law who kept filming their kids, to a neighbor immediately calling a tow truck on someone else's car, we get to decide if any of these people are jerks, all starting with a post titled, "Would I be the jerk if I paid my sister-in-law what I think she should get instead of what she's asking for the biscuits she's baking? It's my child's birthday party soon, and my amazing sister-in-law is baking some biscuits for us to give out instead of party bags. She's had 2 stamps made to personalize them and is going all out with edible glitter, etc. My child is absolutely thrilled, and sister-in-law seems to be excited to make them. I know she's thinking of doing this as a small business, and she's asked me to leave her a good review. Obviously I will, she's literally one of my favorite people ever. But we are massively disagreeing on the price that should be paid. She said she feels guilty asking, but as she's still on maternity leave, could I cover the ingredients, which is less than 20 British pounds. But she's not factored in her time at all, which is frustrating me because that's the time she could be spending doing other things with her family. I looked up pay rates for bakers in my country and the time it should take to make the number of biscuits and added it onto the ingredients cost and told her that's what I'll pay. She's vehemently disagreed with this and said that it's her niece's party and she wants to do it at ingredients cost. If the roles were reversed, I'd be annoyed if she paid the higher amount, but I don't want to sell herself short. So would I be the jerk if I just paid her the researched cost, or should I be respectful of her quoted price? Update. Thanks to everyone who's helped, I have ungraciously accepted defeat and paid her the 20 pounds ingredients cost, which I still got told off for, because apparently it was slightly less than that. I've told her about this post and she thinks it's funny that almost no one was on my side. I also told her that I'll be having my revenge at her birthday soon, and she laughed, so I think we're still cool. I feel like you certainly could have a worse quarrel going on between family. Remember OP and their sister-in-law's great nice-off of 2020 whatever? It sure was a tizzy over that 20 quid. A user named Impossible Smile left a comment on the post writing, "Okay, not the way I thought you were leaning here. Expected it to be undercutting your sister-in-law. Yes, as much as I hate to say it, you are the jerk. Your sister-in-law is seeing this as a gift to you and your niece, not just a time investment. So even though you're seeing the transaction side, you're missing the family gifting side, and it's insulting her. Agree to the ingredients, and maybe in a month or so, order another set of biscuits and tip her. Above all though, leave her those glowing reviews." The OP replied, "So many people are agreeing with her, and I really thought I was in the right. I can see where you're coming from though. It's her birthday soon, so I'll spoil her for that instead of paying for her time. Also, hi. You don't have to pay me for my time, but it would be much appreciated if you could hit those like and subscribe buttons down below." Our next story is, am I the jerk for speaking to my overweight assistant about her business lunch and making her cry? At the beginning of the year, I hired an assistant, we'll call her Amy. Amy is great at what she does, and I've already given her a raise because I felt she was underpaid for what she was doing. I'm working on several large deals, so I gave Amy the lead on one of them. She did an excellent job. I set up a lunch appointment with that client on Friday. I told him that I would be bringing Amy as she has been instrumental in their account. He did not have a problem with this. Amy was professional, knowledgeable, and did an overall good job. The client and I were both impressed, with the exception of one thing. The client and I both ordered burgers and fries. Amy ordered a steak. Well done. Mashed potatoes, steamed veggies, and a side of soup. The client and I finished about the same time. It was another 15 minutes before Amy finished. Then the waitress came around and asked if we wanted dessert. The client and I both said no. Amy ordered cheesecake and coffee. I realized that I hadn't spoken to Amy about client lunches before, so after the meeting, I explained to her that it's best to follow the client's lead. If they order simple food, we order simple food. If they decline dessert, we decline dessert. If we want something afterwards, we can pick it up later. Amy did not take this well. At first, she offered to pay me back. I told her it wasn't a money issue. I have no problem buying her lunch, but to keep in mind, it's about business. I told her I usually order wraps or burgers because they're not too messy. like spaghetti, and I can take small bites in case I'm asked a question. I can also match the client's eating speed, so there's no awkward waiting on either side. Then she started crying, saying it's because she's fat. Her words, not mine. I again told her it was about strategy. I thought she had great potential, and I wanted to help guide her. I then told her about some of my past faux pas. For example, ordering spaghetti and getting it all on my shirt. Or once I ordered first and ordered a cheeseburger when the client was vegetarian and highly disgusted at me. She was still upset when she left. I feel like a jerk for bringing this to her attention, but my intentions were good. I feel like she has great potential. The meal didn't concern me as much as how she took instruction. Now I'm wondering if others think I was wrong for bringing it up at all. Look, I'll be honest, I'm a person that enjoys a meal or two. When the waitress comes around and says, "So do any of y'all want dessert?" In the back of my mind, I'm like, I wouldn't mind a chocolate mousse. But to be honest, I still follow everyone else's lead and they almost always say no because I have no spine. I think it's just inner problems unfortunately kind of leaking out here. My thing is, if I'm OP, I don't even know how to address this without it still being a contentious thing because of how she reacted. I'd love to know in the comments if anybody has any idea of how OP could cut through that and touch base and let her know it's not about the food, it's not about overeating or anything like that, it's just the etiquette side of things. No judgment at all, it's just the process of a business lunch. A user named New Chemist left a comment on the post writing, "Not the jerk. She's self-conscious about her weight and you struck a nerve. You didn't mean to. I honestly think she's just quite embarrassed, though I do think you're overthinking your client meals. It's just a meal, not everything needs to be strategic. Maybe you both could use some loosening up." VOP replied, "I hear what you're saying, but for me, business lunches are very strategic. I once had a breakfast meeting with a landscape company. I wore a green button-up shirt and khaki pants. I then had a change of clothes for another company, which I wanted to wear brighter clothes and a tie to a lunch meeting. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. These meetings are my chance to make that connection and win their business." Another user named Katie Hedgehog left a comment saying, "Not the jerk as long as you're accurate in the depiction of your tone and for helping her learn how these lunches should go. Most likely, she has had bad past experiences with someone policing her food, and it's a sore point for her." VOP responded, "I talk to her like I always do, in a caring mentor-type voice. I didn't think that maybe she's had issues in the past with people policing her eating habits." Our next story is, am I the jerk for losing my cool and yelling at my influencer sister-in-law over her constant filming and lack of respect for my daughter's boundaries? I have a 13-year-old daughter, S. My sister-in-law has two boys, 8 and 11, who are deep into the Canadian hockey/baseball travel tournament lifestyle. She's a stay-at-home mom and went down the Insta/TikTok family lifestyle influencer rabbit hole. Over the last year, she's leaned hard into the hockey mom thing by posting hotel reviews, game picks, and travel tips. She wants to turn her page into a full family brand. When her boys were younger, she used to say she wished she had a daughter to do girly things with. I included her in a few things with S, like picking out her first communion dress. Back then, she was sweet, supportive, and genuinely the cool aunt. Lately, every family thing has become content. She films everything, stages candid moments, narrates like she's vlogging. At Christmas, she tried to dictate the whole day. Gifts, crafts, movies, all became scripted. The older cousins hid in the basement to escape being filmed. S later told me that she hated being recorded and didn't want to be on sister-in-law's pages. Apparently, sister-in-law kept pestering her to braid hair, decorate cookies, etc. for content. S didn't know how to shut it down, so she made herself as un-influencer-friendly as possible. Eye rolls, nose-picking, etc. Last weekend, we went out for my mom's 70th. Sister-in-law immediately started filming again, making the whole dinner awkward until her partner, my brother, snapped at her to stop. During dinner, S mentioned that she was going dress shopping for her grade 8 grad. Sister-in-law lit up and started pushing to come so she could expand her brand into full family content. I ignored her to discuss after dinner and in private, but she kept pushing. In the parking lot, she asked again for the time and place. I snapped. I told her my daughter is not her prop. not her girl substitute, and she does not have permission to film or post her. She got defensive and said I was stifling her creativity and that she needs my daughter because she doesn't have one. I told her off loudly and colorfully. S heard, but with two parents who work in construction, she's heard worse. Later, sister-in-law started a group chat saying I was rude, mean, and embarrassed her, and that everyone posts everything these days. She demanded an apology. I refused and reiterated our boundaries. My siblings backed me up and said they also don't want their kids in her content. Sister-in-law hasn't responded since. I know I raised my voice, but she's ignored every boundary. My priority was protecting S's boundaries. Unequivocally, I know that I'm not the jerk for that, and I will never apologize. However, my sister-in-law just didn't get it. So, am I the jerk for yelling at sister-in-law in the manner I did? Also, any pics I have in my history of S are posted with her permission. My first go at writing this resulted in a 2,000 word, 10,000 character count, so many details have been omitted. Edited to add, there's no content containing my daughter online, only her kids and partner. We are Canadian, currently no laws about underage use of social media. S, as part of the school curriculum, is taught media literacy, digital literacy, and internet safety starting in the kinder years. Her partner is my brother. I did not address her pushing to come shopping in the restaurant, hoping to discuss it later and in private. Dinner was for my mom, so I didn't want to take away from that. I've told her a number of times, no photos or recording, usually over text. She continues to pester to use S. So I feel like it's pretty safe to say OP isn't the jerk, and it's almost got two layers to it for me. The first is, OP is the parent, so full stop, they have a say whether or not they're going to film or use your kid for their content. The second is how S actually feels, and it doesn't seem that S is too thrilled about the idea of being used as a content centerpiece. Makes the decision pretty simple, no? A user named Ellie South Pacific Northwest left a comment saying, "Not the jerk. Your daughter heard you and will remember that you stood up for her against a pushy adult. It must have felt good to be seen. Assuming you don't normally use loud and colorful language with people, your daughter will understand that her well-being is very important to you. She stated a boundary, and you backed her up forcefully. We're always teaching children to be polite and civil, and most of the time that's the way to conduct ourselves. Occasionally, we need to be more assertive, and there are rare times when we need to be loud and colorful when standing up for what's right. You can follow up this incident by talking to your daughter about all this. Great job respecting your daughter and setting an example of how to handle a complicated situation." The OP replied, "Oh man, the language she hears from her dad and I? Surprised her first word wasn't freak." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my neighbor it's not my problem her newborn wakes up to noises coming from my apartment? I recently moved into a one-bedroom apartment that had been vacant for a while. The unit is great overall, and I really like living here. I have a 2-year-old golden doodle. He'll occasionally bark when he hears something outside my door or in the hallway, but I work from home, so I'm almost always there, and I correct the behavior when it happens. It's usually just a couple of alert barks. Tonight, around 7 p.m., I was having dinner with my sisters when my neighbor knocked on my door. She told me that my dog's constant barking has been disturbing her newborn sleep and that this has apparently been going on for weeks. She also said that she has 2 dogs and that she educated them not to bark, so I should be able to do the same with my dog. The thing is, my dog wasn't even barking when she knocked on the door, and I honestly don't believe he is barking constantly. Since I work from home, I would definitely notice if he was. I told her I would try my best to manage it, but also said that I can't control the fact that the building's sound insulation seems pretty poor. I can hear her baby crying through the walls quite often, but I've never complained because that's just part of apartment living. Babies cry and dogs sometimes bark. Now, the whole interaction has made me really anxious and hyper-aware. If my dog barks even once, I immediately worry she's going to complain again. Am I the jerk for telling her that the building's thin walls aren't really something I can control? Update: this situation has made me very hyper-aware, so I've been paying close attention to my dog, Mini Golden Doodle, since the interaction. Last night and this morning, he didn't bark once, and honestly sleeps most of the day. We take long walks and I play with him after feeding, and he's been trained since he was a puppy. I think part of the issue may be that my unit was vacant for a long time before I moved in, so they may have gotten used to total silence next door. I lived in my previous apartment for 2 years and never received a single complaint about my dog. My husband even added an extra layer of insulation around our front door to reduce hallway noise, and the building itself is very pet-friendly. There are probably more dogs than people here. I'm trying to empathize because I've never had a baby and maybe don't fully understand what she's going through with a newborn. But at the same time, I don't feel like I should have to tiptoe around my own home in fear that a single bark might wake her baby. So I think if an apartment complex is pet-friendly, allows the dogs to be there, you just can't expect everybody to have these perfectly trained angels of a dog. And I'm not even saying that to excuse any dog that is acting up or barking excessively, but a lot of dogs, at some point throughout the day, might bark a few times. In fact, anytime I'm reading these Reddit stories, I always have a dog in the background, so there's always a chance they might bark a little bit and cause me to totally mess up and flub a line. I would probably be willing to bet, based on OP's description, that it's more the stress and tiredness from dealing with the newborn than it really is the dog barking excessively. On the other hand, a user named Low Attention left a comment on the post writing, "Dog owners are almost always oblivious to how much their dog barks, so I'm inclined to side with the neighbor." A user named Otherwise Ad replied, "Usually I'd agree, but those postpartum months with a newborn are particularly brutal, and I can absolutely understand how a sleep-deprived mom to a newborn could see a normal amount of limited barking as excessive." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not playing dumb on a double date? This happened years ago, but I told the story recently, and some of my friends acted like I was a jerk. I used to work with this girl, Chelsea, who would tell me that she always thought I would be a good fit for her friend Nicole. Each time she said this, it felt like she had no idea we've had this conversation before, and I was actively getting better at navigating the conversation. For example, I had gone from, "Is she cute?" to, "What do we have in common?" And she had gone from rolling her eyes to telling me that we're both tall. Chelsea is very attractive, and her friends match, including this stereotypically very attractive tall blonde named Nicole, and I really wanted Chelsea to follow through with setting us up, but she never did while we worked together. Fast forward a few years, and I run into her again. Chelsea's working at this high-end liquor store near my office, and I see her from time to time. She mentions Nicole again, says we would be a great fit, and this time, I really push for the setup. She tells me the same spiel about how Nicole is also tall, we have the same sense of humor, she's a waitress at a nice restaurant nearby, as well as other interests. Chelsea even tells me that she remembers one day I chatted her up about The Walking Dead at work, and after work, she was hanging out with Nicole, who basically repeated everything I had said earlier. We exchanged numbers, and later that day, she tells me a time and place. The plan is for Chelsea, her fiancé, Nicole, and myself. I creep her social medias, and it's pretty obvious it's the wildly out-of-my-league Nicole. The morning of, she tells me we need to postpone. It sucks, but it happens, and we schedule it for the following week, same place. I came prepared, new haircut, new outfit, studied the menu, everything I could think of to put my best foot forward, and I'm introduced to a very different Nicole. This Nicole is short, fairly overweight, works at a daycare. I can tell from everyone's reaction that I am visibly disappointed. I decide to go through with the date, but I just keep bringing the conversation back to what I knew about her, asking questions like, when did you get bored of The Walking Dead? How long have you been a waitress? And, oh, Chelsea mentioned you've been friends since you were kids? Chelsea was trying her best to talk her way around it, but Nicole was visibly upset. The girls went to the bathroom, and the fiancé asked me what the heck I was doing, and I told him that Chelsea obviously meant to set me up with someone else. He said she did, but Nicole kept asking to postpone and clearly wasn't interested, so she found someone else more in my league. I gave him a sharp look, and he followed with, "Okay, she found another Nicole." So I think from the sheer awkwardness and crazy situation OP was put into here, I'm kind of feeling like OP's almost not the jerk. I think the only reason OP is the jerk is the completely needless bashing on the second Nicole. I mean, the way OP reads it, how can you not feel like, oh, this is kind of a jerk thing for OP to write? This Nicole, this is nothing like I was expecting. This one's short, fairly overweight, and works at a daycare. A user named Artemizarde left a comment on the post writing, "Everybody sucks here, except the new Nicole." Another user named Slater Girl left a comment saying, "You are the jerk. This new Nicole didn't deserve to be embarrassed. She probably didn't know what was going on, and you went out of your way to be weird to her to teach your former coworker a lesson. You could have made some excuse to leave the date early. You could have just had dinner with friends and their +1 and then told off the coworker later. You could have rolled with it and maybe met a really nice person. But you chose whatever that was. Real Nicole was right to blow this whole thing off." Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling a tow truck on a car parked in my spot? I, 27-year-old female, moved to a townhouse-style apartment complex with my husband, 36-year-old male, back in 2022. Our apartment complex offers gated parking with assigned spots for $25. If you're parked in the gated area without an assigned spot or tag stating you pay to park in the gated area, then your car gets towed. There are multiple signs in the entrance stating this. We decided to pay for 2 spots to be closer to our apartment and to make it easy for when I have my son with me. Recently, the complex started doing some construction work and the apartment manager sent out an email stating that certain parking spots will be reassigned temporarily to allow the workers easier access. In this email, it specifically states to see her in the office to get a new temporary spot and not to park in spots they're not assigned to. Our spots were not reassigned. Well, a few nights ago, my husband and I were out and came home late to find someone parked in my spot. We didn't know who the car belonged to, so we could politely ask them to move, so I moved close to my neighbor's spot and hoped the tow truck didn't make his routine drive-by that night. Thankfully, he didn't. The next day, I got a message from the neighbors saying that they saw the man parking in my spot and told him he was parking in someone's assigned spot. He responded with, "I'm not moving my car." Last night, my neighbor messaged me that the same man parked in my spot again. At this point, I was a little frustrated, so I came home and got the number for the tow truck. I called and made a complaint that someone was in my spot. I gave them the number of my spot along with a description of the car. My neighbor and I sat outside by our doors waiting for the tow truck to make sure they took the right car. There have been issues in the past with them taking the wrong car. Now, this part, I'll admit, is a little petty. When the tow truck arrived and started grabbing the car, my neighbor and I were clapping and laughing. It's not like the man didn't already know it was a possibility because my neighbors did warn him. The apartment manager did send out notices about this. Also, if I had let it go, I would be the one at risk of getting towed as well, which I can't afford at the moment. I sent my husband pictures of the car getting towed, and he had a few words for me when he got home from work. He felt I shouldn't have called the tow truck. He feels I'm starting unneeded confrontation. We have lived here peacefully for 4 years, and now I'm starting problems with people. He thinks the guy is going to retaliate against me. He said he didn't feel like a parking spot is worth the risk I'm putting myself in. I told him I wouldn't have done it if we didn't pay for assigned spots. I wouldn't have done it if my car wasn't at risk of being towed for being in the wrong spot. But now I'm wondering, is my husband right? Was I a jerk for getting his car towed? As long as the friend is being honest, I think OP's not the jerk simply for the fact that this guy said, "I'm not moving my car." Well, then at that point, the tow truck will move it for you, don't worry. A user named Dry Lawfulness left a comment saying, "Not the jerk. He was warned and obviously didn't care. How does your husband think he'll retaliate?" The OP replied, "He thinks the guy might cut my tires or do something to my car." Dry Lawfulness replied, "Can you install cameras? I know apartment complexes typically don't have cameras at the parking lot." The OP replied, "Both my neighbor and I have doorbell cameras that aim directly at our cars since we're close to the parking area." Then, in the comments, the OP posted an update. I spoke with management the next day. I provided them with a full description of the car. They told me if it's a situation that's after hours, it's to my full discretion to call the tow truck. They've sent out enough notices warning people about the parking situation to the point that they're not wasting their time asking people to move. If it were during their working hours, they would have just called the tow truck as well. I did go to the office later that day to update some information, and management informed me the guy went to complain about his car. They pretty much told him, "You parked in an assigned spot, so yeah, you're going to get towed." She worked out something with him to park somewhere else apparently. She said to just keep her informed, and she would handle it if the problem continues. As for my husband, once I spoke to management, I had a very big "I told you so" speech. My husband does have issues with confrontation, and while I understood his concerns, I still did what I felt was right in the moment. He would rather have had his own car towed and pay the amount it took to get it back than have issues with someone where he lives. I also do have a tendency of going a bit far with things at times, and this was a situation where I felt I might have. Our dynamic is far from traditional. I'm more of the backbone than he is. I'm okay with that because I understand what he's been through to be the way he is. After reading the comments and speaking with management, I realized I did do the right thing, which gives me a huge peace of mind. So, thank you everyone. Our next story is, am I the jerk for ignoring our friend on our trip to Mexico? Last year around this time, my friends and I planned a trip to Cancun Dream Natural Resort and Spa. We all wanted to drink, eat, dance, and relax on the beach with no kids. I'm the only one without kids, so I was really looking forward to spending time with just my friends to unwind. Every other trip before this was planned with the kids, but this time there would be no early bedtimes, no crying, no screaming, no sand in our drinks because kids think it's funny to throw sand. 1 week before the trip, one of the friends said she's bringing her 10-year-old. This woman can never tell her kid no. We had all warned her beforehand that if this happens, we weren't going to change anything. To say I was annoyed was an understatement, but I sucked it up. I still had 2 friends who were going child-free and had no intention of changing any plans. My 2 other friends and I drank, we ate amazing food, we danced all night, and spent the day at the beach. The friend with the kid expressed her frustration about the rest of us doing what we wanted, and she couldn't. My response was pretty much, well, that sucks, but we're not going to change the entire point of this trip just because of your inability to tell your kid no. We invited her to do what we were doing multiple times, but her response was always, I can't, my kid wants to go. So there was definitely tension between the 3 of us and her the entire trip. When we were making our long way back home, all 3 of us got a really nasty message from her fiancé, calling us bad friends and how dare we not revolve our entire trip around her and their kid. That she had a terrible time and it was our fault. I was like, pardon? That was pretty much the last straw for me. Now, I never tell my friends how to parent their children, but their daughter is so nasty. She is so spoiled and, like I've stated earlier, has never been told no. So you can understand how entitled this child is. My other friends are a lot more reasonable when it comes to their children. Their children are polite, have a general understanding about boundaries, and they behave really well for 8 to 10-year-olds. My text back to him was pretty much, we made these plans a year in advance, expecting us to be fine with the fact that you guys dropped it on us that your child was coming a week before we were leaving, and then expecting us to change everything and cancel all of our plans because you guys can't tell your kid no is not fair to us at all. That is a you problem, not ours. I would understand if something came up and she had no choice but to bring her kid. Crap happens. People cancel. But that was not the case. Her fiancé was home the entire time, and her grandmother was also looking forward to watching her granddaughter, but her kid freaked out about not being allowed to go on the trip, and they couldn't tell her no. Now her and her fiancé are super ticked. Were we in the wrong here? OP's not the jerk here, and if anything, I think it's especially because it is such an insurmountable task at times to get everybody together in one place having a vacation child-free. It's a little bit of a miracle. Heck, in my experience, it's hard enough getting all of your friends together even if you don't have kids. It probably felt like they finally had that once in a every 5 years chance here, and then the week before, they go, by the way, bringing my kid. A user named Floundering Around left a comment saying, not the jerk. So the whole family is entitled, How Charming. Your message was honestly very tame. I would have dragged the whole family if I was responding. Also, I would very much distance myself from that friend as much as possible, but that's me, and I'm quick to cut people out of my life when they're disrespectful. Not only does your friend not respect you and the rest of the friend group, but she doesn't respect herself or her child. That child will be very spoiled, entitled, and isolated as they grow up. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Do you guys think I mostly got it right, or do you vastly disagree with me? Let me know down in the comments. And also, if you want to catch some more crazy Am I the Jerk Here stories, why not check out that video on the left of the screen right now? Or if you missed my latest video, you can check that out on the right of the screen. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories, and it's child-free like we agreed upon a year ago.